Not sure if we're live, but I'm going to just go ahead and start talking. How are y'all doing out there in Facebook world and then YouTube land? Welcome to Kowalski Analysis, episode 66. I'm your host, Rob B. Kowalski. Thanks for tuning in. This is a podcast designed to help you navigate the weight and become the best version of you. And I'm your host, Rob Kowalski. Excited to talk tonight. It's my favorite thing to talk about, actually. We're going to dive into taboo sex topics. But let me just go ahead and great. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Kowalski Analysis, episode 66. I'm your host, Rob Kowalski. Thanks for tuning in. So tonight's going to be an interesting conversation. We are going to be talking about taboo sex topics. I've had listeners post questions, or viewers, actually, I say post questions, and we're going to try to answer them tonight. Yeah, we're live. Okay, cool. So again, welcome to Kowalski Analysis, episode 66. Tonight is live, and this is a podcast designed to help you navigate the weight and become the best version of you. So I'm super pumped about this one. Sex is probably my favorite thing to talk about. It is the thing that I think I really understand the best of everything that I talk about. Not that I'm that my range is that wide, actually, but sex is definitely my that's my wheelhouse. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and before I jump in to some of these questions and some of these topics that have been proposed through our conversation tonight, taboo sex topics, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. Say hello, say hi, say hey in the comments below, even if you're watching the replay, and feel free to go ahead and share this, especially if you got single friends, maybe, you know, couples that aren't yet married, that may be Christians. If you have children, maybe above the age of like 15 years old, you might want to have them watch some of this stuff, because we're going to get into some deep stuff tonight that will be super valuable for them, I believe. And then I'm going to try to address questions too, if we have time. I'm going to try to stay on here for about 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to go over the questions that have been asked prior to the episode, but also if you have questions during the episode, drop them in the comments, and I'm going to try to go in there and answer them. So I want to mention my sponsor quickly before we do this. Looks like we have a couple people on here now. And that is, let me just share my screen with you really quick. Mr. Micah Hughes. Micah's a good friend of mine. Micah does real estate. He helps people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. Why you should call Micah. Micah is a great guy, great Christian guy that really loves people and considers real estate as ministry. He really cares, but also he sponsors me, and he enables me to give all my time to City Fam and not get paid. So you would be doing me a huge favor if you used him for your real estate needs. Now, my second sponsor is named Advisors Mortgage, and that is owned by a guy named Matthew Krim, and he is also just a big believer in City Fam and everything we're doing, and he can help you get the money that you need to buy and sell and invest in real estate. So I'll make sure I put their information in the show notes, but you can give Micah a call, or you can give Matt a call, or you can drop them an email, and in about 2 minutes they'll be able to tell you what they can do for you. If you mention City Fam, I promise you that they'll take good care of you. All right, so I just want to pull up and see who's on here right now. I'm having a hard time finding this stream. Wait, here I'm going to try to address questions too if we have time. I'm going to try to stay on here. Okay, here we are. Good. Looks like we got about 7 people on here. Misty Karakash is here. Selena Green, James Kim, LaDonna Sanford. Hi there. I don't remember seeing your name before, but welcome. Awesome. Glad you guys are here. And also check out YouTube real quick and see how this is going. Looks like we have a few people tuning in on YouTube. Thomas A. How's it going, Thomas? The World According to Vanessa. How are you? Looking forward to seeing you on New Year's, Vanessa. So yeah, guys, I got so much going on right now. I did a post the other day where I was talking about something popped up in my memories from the end of 2019 where I was talking about what a hard year it was. It was probably the hardest year of my life. And what I didn't know at the end of that year was going into 2020 was going to be basically just as hard as 2019. But I really feel like I'm coming out of that, guys. I got so much good stuff happening. Everything is like happening at the same time. God is just breathing on everything. We got New Year's Eve coming up, getting ready to go to Costa Rica. Got this business partnership with Jackie Dorman, and we're gonna do the security token offering for home. So a lot of great things happening. So I just really said that to encourage anybody out there that if you're in a rough season, if you're in a dry season right now, don't give up. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Don't compromise and settle for something less than maybe you really want. Hang in there and keep going, because the word promises that if we don't quit, that we will reap a harvest. And I hung on to that verse so much through those 2 years. And I just believe that if I could just figure out a way to keep going, that sooner or later the season was going to break. This winter wasn't going to last forever. So I just encourage you guys out there that if you're going through something hard, find a way to keep going. If you have to surround yourself with good people or whatever it is you have to do to keep on keeping on, there is a blessing on the other side of it. So let's just dive into it. Again, feel free to post questions below if you have them as we're talking. Some of these questions I actually looked at and I was like, I don't really know if I have a strong opinion on some of these things, but we're going to go ahead and try to address them anyway. Why I feel qualified to talk about sex. So some of you might not know, but I wrote a book called Why Waiting Works. It's got over 100 5-star reviews on Amazon. You can go pick up a free copy just by paying shipping and handling at whywaitingworks.com, and you get a bunch of other bonuses with it. But I really, I believe that I probably have lived at more polar ends of the spectrum on the subject of sex than any other human being in history. And I don't even mean that as an exaggeration. Like I had so much casual sex when I was before I was a believer, and then even after, when I was backslidden for a couple of years. But then I also have been abstinent for basically 16 of the last 21 years. Now I did have 2 mistakes in the last 10 years, isolated incidents, but I've had long periods of abstinence, 6 years, 4 years, 3 years. So these long stretches. And when you've lived at the other end where you were just having sex with sometimes multiple people a week, you really gain it's an interesting perspective it gives you. It's a very unique, because when you live at such extremes. So I believe that I'm qualified to talk about this. Some people have asked me like, what's your degree in or whatever? Like, my degree's in the real world. So, there's a reason I've made a YouTube video a few years ago called 10 Reasons Not to Have Sex Before Marriage. Actually, if you want to see it, drop a comment, let me know. I'll post a link to it in the comments. But it went viral and became the #1 video in the world. Got like 1.8 million views, I think, on it. And it was because I can break it down practically, the dynamics of sex, in a way that people are able to understand, and why it makes sense to wait, why God told us to wait. And marriage, as crazy as it sounds to some people, is the best option for finding long-term happiness. So if you want to see that video, drop a comment, let me know. I'll post it there. But yeah, that's my qualifications. So let's just dive into it. Okay. So first question by someone named Maria. And this is spanking and kink within marriage. Is it okay to say no within marriage? Of course. Okay. So first off, spanking and kink within marriage. Listen, in the confines of marriage, I'm pretty liberal. And I think the Bible speaks to all that stuff being okay. Like, we're supposed to not deny our partner. So if our partner is into that, now listen, if that's not your thing and that bothers you and you have some kind of problem with that in your conscience, then no, you shouldn't do it. And your partner shouldn't be forcing you to do it, but you shouldn't think that it's wrong or feel guilty about it, because like, to me, it's one of those disputable matters. Like, if that's it, there's nothing dirty about sex, right? Like, and if your husband or your wife even smacking your ass during sex turns you on and maybe turns her on, then I wouldn't label it as bad or dirty just because maybe a traditional conservative, whatever, Christian might label it that way. There's a lot of things I think that the church has labeled as being bad or dirty that isn't really bad. You know, I think about, and some people disagree with me on this, but I think about cussing. You know, cussing to me is not a sin. Cussing is just, it might be like crude, kind of like chewing with your mouth open, but it's not a sin. It's not, it would be worse for me to call you a dummy or a dum dum than it would be if I stubbed my toe and I said shit. That doesn't mean anything. So I look at things like that through that lens, where I think sometimes we, as Christians, we get caught in these belief systems that aren't necessarily accurate. So I would say, yes, it's okay if it's your thing and you're into it and you enjoy it, go for it. Is it okay to say no within marriage? It's okay to say no to spanking and kink, but I don't think it's okay to say no to sex. Actually, biblically, you're not supposed to deny your partner of sex. So if your partner wants to have sex, basically you belong to them and they belong to you. Or you know, so if I'm a man and I go home and my wife wants to have sex, I gotta have sex with her because I belong to her. But then also, if I want to have sex, she's not supposed to be denying me either. Now, hopefully, you know, you have equal appetites, but I guess there's no guarantee of that. So anyway, that's my thought on it. And I believe that that's biblical. Okay. 2, Danny asked, countering what my generation and younger is being taught about sex and relationships. We're told in one way or another, it takes 2 people to be happy. How can we refute that and build up a tolerance against those who say we're incorrect? We're told in the one way or another, it takes 2 people to be happy. Oh, I see what he's saying. How can we refute that and build up a tolerance against those who say we're incorrect? Basically, he's saying that we're told by society that we need to be in a relationship in order to be happy. I think the best way to refute that, to build up a tolerance against those who say we're incorrect. I mean, I would surround myself with like-minded people, which you're doing, Danny, because I know this person's in the Waiting Works community. By the way, if you're watching this and you're not yet a member of the Waiting Works community, go over to Facebook and join that group. It's 100% free to join. And in there, you're going to find people that are waiting. They're trying to wait to have sex until marriage, or they are waiting to have sex until marriage, or they're trying. And we're just there to support each other and encourage each other to finish the race. So I would say surround yourself with like-minded people, but also just like, you know, do what you can to raise your image, your self-image is what I would say. I see, if you're worried about what other people think of you, that means you have a small opinion of yourself is what because honestly, I don't give up like really what people think. That's why I speak my mind so openly, because I'm like, I know that I'm right. And I really don't care what you think. I have a very healthy opinion of myself and ego, because I know the things that I've done in life and the things I've been able to accomplish. So it gives me a certain confidence. So I would try to think of ways that I could elevate my confidence and my self-image. And that might be, you know, achieving at things, being successful at, you know, doing stuff that you're good at, learning self-defense, maybe learning to shoot a gun. I don't know. What is it that makes you confident and makes you feel like a man, so that you really don't care what other people think of you? Because I don't think that women want a masculine man. Women don't want a feminine man that worries about what other people think of them. So you have to elevate yourself. I think I saw something that Joe Rogan posted recently. It was, and I know Elliot Hulse talks a lot about this too, but he says good times bad times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And we're seeing a lot of weak men in the world right now because we've just lived through a lot of prosperity. So I would say do what you can to strengthen yourself as a man and to make yourself more confident and raise your self-image. And then you really won't care what other people think. All right, Claudine, masturbation and how that affects or doesn't affect waiting. Okay, I'm not a proponent of masturbation. I actually just got off a live stream with Jackie Dorman. It was great. You can see it over in the Waiting Works community. I'll tell you a little bit more about a challenge that she's running right now that you can take part in, a free challenge. But, you know, we were talking about masturbation and, you know, she was talking about how sex is designed to bring a couple together and connect them and help them to bond. And it's not all about your gratification. It's not all about getting off and climaxing. So I like that. I like the way she phrased that, and I'm going to use that. But I think that the way I look at masturbation and how it affects waiting is essentially you're feeding the animal, right? You're feeding that appetite, and your flesh only gets stronger like when you feed it. The only way to weaken your flesh is to starve it. There's that old parable or story about, like, there's two wolves, and which one wins. It says the one that you feed, right? The one that you don't feed will eventually die. So you have to starve that out. This is what fasting is all about, guys. It's like when you don't eat for a period of time, you are weakening your flesh. Okay, I actually read a verse in my devotional this morning, and it said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I thought to myself, well, how do I strengthen my flesh? And I'm like, wait a second, isn't that verse backward? Like, because the flesh is strong, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is strong, right? But it says the flesh is weak. So I don't know. That was just thought that I had. I was like, shouldn't it be the opposite way? But how do we loosen that grip that the flesh has on us? And that's prayer, fasting, not feeding those appetites that are wrong. So when you're masturbating, you're playing stories in your head if you're not looking at something, which is worse even. And then when the temptation does present itself to you, you're not in a position to resist it as much as it, because you've been feeding that animal. And I think I told this story before, but the first time I messed up after I rededicated my life 10 years ago, I was very vocal about my position of abstinence and why I believed it was the right path for me, and why I believed it worked. And I'd been waiting for like 3 years, maybe 4 years. And I had a girlfriend that I was attracted to, and she was attracted to me. But I didn't want to marry her. I knew that, but I did like the attention, and she was pretty, and we were spending a lot of time together. And I remember she was coming over my house. We were going to go grab dinner, and I felt tempted. I felt like horny, I guess. And I went and I jerked off. I rubbed one out because I didn't want to. I was afraid that if I didn't, I might make a mistake with her. And she came over, and we went to go eat, and we came back to my house, and we watched TV, and we ended up having sex. And I'm like, so that did not help me. Like, it didn't help me. If anything, it probably created more of it strengthened that animal inside of me to screw up. So I would say don't masturbate. And I say that loosely because, listen, I'm not perfect. I mess up. I masturbate, occasionally. I don't want to. I do everything in my power not to. I put things on my phone so I can't look at adult sites. I've signed covenants with God. I pray, I fast. I do a lot of things to, kill that animal, because at one point in my life, it was so strong. It just controlled me. And so I don't want that. I don't want to ever be controlled like that. And, but at the same time, I'm a human, and I still have a sex drive, and this journey that we're all on of waiting is not easy. And and sometimes you get lonely, and sometimes you get depressed, and sometimes you get horny, and sometimes you just feel like shaking your fist at God because you're mad that it's been so long. And those things have all happened. But as much as you can, do not jerk off, do not masturbate. It's not gonna help you with your goal of crossing the finish line successfully with your kingdom marriage, and waiting to have sex until your wedding night. Very few people make it. 3%. 3% is the number. People that are actually make it to their wedding night. I want to be in that number. And I want something that most people don't have, and if that's you, then you're going to have to do what most people don't do. And that's be in that 3%. So, all right, let's go to the next question. Annabelle, what does the Bible say about not being able to allow your partner to reach satisfaction? Can it be considered a sin? That's funny. So I don't know what the Bible says about not allowing your partner to reach satisfaction, but I do know the Bible talks a lot about being selfless in a relationship. We're supposed to love our wives like Christ loved the church, which means he would die for her. So that's pretty much that's pretty selfless, right? Where it's like you're laying down your life for someone else. So if you're just there, you're getting yours and you're not really worried about your partner's pleasure or satisfaction, as you put it, then I would say, I don't know if it's sin, but I would certainly be considered selfish in my opinion. Um, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it was sin, but yeah, I mean, if you were the person in the relationship and that was your partner not satisfying you, yeah, I would have a problem with that. And that would definitely, maybe you want to talk to somebody, a spiritual mentor, another couple, or maybe even get some counseling in that area, because at the end of the day, sex should be benefit. It should be satisfying for both parties. Not to say it always has to be, not every single time, because there's going to be times where maybe one person doesn't climax and the other person does. But if it's something that's going on regularly, then that's going to be an issue, and I think that's going to come up and be a problem in the relationship. All right, so let's keep going. What if one suffers from feeling sexually inadequate compared to their peers, Christian or not? Example: never having been involved in a menage a trois and perhaps worried about being seen as prudish or inexperienced. So that's a good question. I think that okay, first off, if you're a woman, no guy is going to worry about you being inexperienced, right? Like, he's not. There's an intrinsic value to someone that's a virgin, men and women, but especially women, right? There's an intrinsic value there, even men though, because if you look at people like Tim Tebow and you got, the guy that was on The Bachelor, and I had this guy recently on the podcast called Mitchell Eason, 23 years old, and he's a virgin. Like, there's something special about that. And even if people don't understand fully what it is, they know it. They know there's something intrinsically valuable there. And yeah, I was watching this podcast with Mitchell before he came on my show. I was watching this interview, and there was these two girls on there, and you could tell that they weren't virgins, but they were talking to him, and he was just kind of explaining his stance on it. And they were like, "That's so cool." They said, they're like, "That's so," like, you could see it, like, deep down, genetically, deep in their, their being, they knew that that's the right way. And I look back and I personally got duped by the world. I just kind of believe what people told me, what I saw on television, and that was what I took the bait, and I got duped. And that's not what it means to be a real man or a real woman. So, but yeah, especially if you're a woman, first off, don't worry about being seen as inexperienced. I don't think most men don't want to marry a woman that has tons of experience. Okay, so if she was out giving it out to everybody, most men do not want to wife her. They might want to take a turn, but they don't want to wife her. You don't want to walk into an establishment with your girl and five guys there have banged her. Like, you don't want that. You feel embarrassed. Okay, not to say it's right for a man either, but there is a difference. And sometimes women get mad at me when I talk about this. But the difference is because a woman can go out and have sex any night of the week. She could have sex with a different person or multiple different people every single day of her life. She could. A man doesn't have it like that. So when a man, it's not as hurtful, because, like, this is the way I put it to women. So imagine you were dating a guy and he proposed to you. You were in love with him and he proposed to you. And then you were like, wow, this is awesome. You got your ring. And then you found out that he proposed to every girl he dated before you. You'd be like, what a piece of, like, you'd be like, this weak mofo. Like, you would be mad because you'd be like, well, I'm not special. He proposed to everybody that he dated before me. Right. That's how it is for guys with women that just kind of don't have any discretion. And the Bible actually talks about this, and it probably sounds a little sexist, but it says, like a gold ring and a pig snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. It doesn't say that about a man. What it says is, if a man seduces a woman to have sex with him that's not his wife, he has to marry her. Okay. For a woman, it doesn't say that. It says, take her to the door of her father's house and stone her to death. Because so you start to understand the dynamics of sex, because the man, if he goes out and seduces a woman, he has to give her the security. He has to take care of her now. Now I know times have changed and women don't need men to take care of them, and I get that. I'm not saying that's the case, but there is a principle there that people have to understand. And when you understand it, it really does help you navigate your way through the dynamics of sex, because a woman is going to say when we have sex for the first time 99.999% of the time. If two people are dating, the woman's controlling when. She controls the sex. The man controls the security. He decides when we get married. He proposes. So if a woman gives the sex before she gets the security, then she's already at a disadvantage, because she's given her part. Now she's chasing the guy around trying to get his part. And it just creates a problem. I was talking to this guy yesterday in Colorado, John Hagan. I'm not sure if you're watching, John, but if you are, hello. And what I said, this is what happens when you have that trade that happens, and it's not on your wedding night. It happens early. What happens most of the time is a man he'll take the sex, and either he'll lose interest, drastically lose interest after he gets the sex. So like either to the point where he doesn't want to see the girl again, or now he's just in the driver's seat, and he's just not as emotionally attached like she is. Or they continue this, and then hit it and quit it a lot of times happens, and then the girl's not left broken. Or they continue having sex, but the guy's kind of like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and then it gets to the point where he just go ahead and makes her his girlfriend out of obligation, because he starts feeling guilty, like I owe it to her. But both of those scenarios are terrible if you think about it. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with somebody out of obligation. Like I want to choose this person because they're everything that I want, and I don't think any girl wants. That's not very romantic. A guy, he's going to make me his girlfriend or make me his wife because he feels obligated. No. And then what happens inevitably if you do that is you start to feel resentment towards the girl, because she wasn't everything that you wanted. And now you're looking at other women over your shoulder, wondering if you could have been happier with them, but you're kind of stuck with this girl that you feel obligated to, and you kind of resent her a little bit. And that's what happens all the time when you don't wait. So I don't know if that answers your question, but Annabelle, but we're going to keep rolling. All right. So Elfrey says, any correlation between masturbation, sex toys, and Christianity? So I actually asked Alan Parr about the sex toys. Wait, did I ask Alan Parr? And he was kind of on board, like, listen, if that spices it up. But it at some point it becomes kind of a heart issue where it's like, it's a slippery slope. Sex toys are a slippery slope for sure. And you could very easily get into some perverted stuff. But if it's, you have to check your heart with all that. That's just my belief. And I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, let's just go through the comments real quick and see if there's anybody asking comments. Looks like we got about 14 people on here. How's it going? Marilyn Mendez, how are you? LaDonna Sanford already said hi to you, right? Selena's here. Melissa Phillips from Florida. How are you, Melissa? Hang on, let me get my popcorn, she said. Misty Karakash. Who else? Rochelle Greenwood's here. Love means self-sacrifice. If we truly exercise this type of love, then we shouldn't have any problems, whether it's in the bedroom or outside of the bedroom. It's good, James. All right. Jennifer R. Mace Rick said, if you want something you've never had, you have to do things you've never done. Amen. Whoops. All right. So I got some more topics here. Let's just keep going. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them. What inspires you to make the first move? Someone asked. So for me, here's just a great tip that I had on Trip Advice. He's a dating coach, and I guess I had some non-negotiables, but I don't know if I was as clear on them then as I am now. So what he tells his clients is that you have to have 3 non-negotiables. Okay. Because what that does is it helps you narrow the field. There's a lot of, people in the world, right? it's almost like getting a certain kind of car. And then after you get the car, you start seeing that car everywhere. So you want to have your non-negotiables very clear. Okay. And he suggests having 3 of them. And that's just going to give you, that doesn't mean that the person, if they pass, they're your husband or your wife, obviously, but it does mean that you can maybe take a second look at them. So for me, my 3 non-negotiables are that they love Jesus, that they're waiting until marriage, they're on board with that, and that they're politically conservative. That's what because I don't think I could ever marry a liberal because we just see the world differently. But those are my 3 non-negotiables. So I would recommend all y'all out there watching this is that if you don't already know what they are, you develop those 3 like right away. That's your next step. If you're single, develop the 3 non-negotiables. And what will happen is there's girls that, follow me on Instagram or maybe whatever, I don't know, they come across my path in one way or another, and I'll look at their, maybe I'll look at their profile or whatever. And if I don't see some evidence of Jesus, or if I see some really like racy pictures they're posting with, of their butt or whatever, like that already tells me they probably, they're not talking about God. They probably don't know Jesus. They're probably not waiting. And then if, like politically, so if any one of those things I see, I can automatically just go, nope, not for me, and just keep it moving. Right. So that's what the 3 non-negotiables. So for me, when do I make the first move? That didn't really answer the question. That just causes me to take a second look. But when I would make the first move, and I haven't made a move in so long. For me, it's spirit led. I haven't gone on dates because I haven't felt like God's given me the green light to even date. There has been a couple girls that I considered it, and for one reason or another, it just didn't happen. So I'm kind of looking for a few things. I'm looking for God to give me peace. I'm looking obviously for someone that I'm interested in that kind of catches my attention. And I'm like, wow, like I'd like to get to know that person maybe a little bit better. And then I'm looking for some omens too. Like I believe that sometimes God sends you signs, and if you don't believe that, there was a good looking girl at the grocery store yesterday, very pretty. And I was like, if you don't believe that God's going to direct your steps in that area, then that would just cause you to go crazy. Because then every time you saw someone you were attracted to, you'd want to approach them and just start up a conversation. And I don't think that's a good strategy. So you have to believe in some divine providence that God is going to direct you. So I'm kind of just allowing him to steer me. And I'm kind of like, there's been a lot of things happen recently with meeting Jackie and my finances improving and some other things that lead me to believe God may be taking me in this direction. I have somebody prophesy over me a couple times actually recently about finding a wife. And I was kind of waiting for those things to happen, believing that God wasn't going to allow me to miss her. So I think people that make a lot of first moves probably aren't trusting God in that area of their life. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong necessarily if there's someone that you're interested in. I really love, actually, I just want to mention this. I love some advice that Jackie gave me recently. And she said, you need to desexualize dating, meaning like, she's like, you just need to go on some like coffee Zoom, dates with people and just grab a coffee with them. No expectations, just keep it light. I was like, that's good. I like that. So, I think that if you go into it with that mindset, it relieves the pressure, and you can kind of do that a little bit more regularly without the fear of hurting someone or maybe getting caught and trapped in something that you don't want to be in. So I'm not saying that you have to wait for God to send you a freaking sign, a lightning bolt, whatever, to make a move, but I would be looking for those 3 non-negotiables, and I would be looking for at least a check in my spirit. Like, do I have peace about taking a step with this person? Just one step. So hopefully that answers the question. That was a long answer. All right. In your opinion, what does it mean to be good in bed? That's a good question. So what does it mean to be good in bed? I mean, I think that's pretty subjective, right? Because if you enjoy having sex with the person, that's really what it means, right? It means that it doesn't mean knowing all the tricks. I've been with girls that, knew all kinds of tricks, and I still didn't want to have sex with them at some point. It was because the connection wasn't deep. So to me, good sex would mean we have a deep connection. And I don't know if I've ever had a deep connection with a woman, like not romantically at least. Um, and I would imagine that if I was making love to the person I was in love with, it would be good sex. So for me, it would be less about the tricks and the maneuvers and all that, and it would be more about the connection. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. Can you learn to be passionate about someone if there's no chemistry at first? I like that. That's a good question. I have a strong belief on this one, actually. Looking at Jennifer's comment, she said the lightning bolt would be great. um, so I do believe you can have chemistry with someone that you don't have a strong connection with at first. I've seen it happen actually. So my co-founder Billy Lofton, he had his eye on this girl from the. I was there the first night that he met her. We had a game night at his house, little city fam social event. There was, I don't know, 5, 6 guys, 6 girls. We were playing Battle of the Sexes, and she was brand new. It was her first event. She came with a friend, and he liked her right from the jump. And he was like, told me, I'm like, well, ask her out. So he like one day after a couple of weeks, he's like, look, I like you as more than a friend. And she just was like, oh, I don't really like you like that. And for 2 years, he couldn't shake it. He couldn't let it go. And he would always complain to me about her. And, and we just, but he never made it weird. He just continued to kind of give her space and, remain friends. But then, and I was there the night that this happened. It was a Ginny's birthday party. It happened to be over Billy's house. It was 2 years later after knowing her. And she just was like looking at him different. Like she was looking at him with these big eyes, smiling. And he was like, what? He goes, what the hell is she smiling at? Like he didn't understand what was going on, but God was changing her heart. And she ended up falling in love with him. We all went to Nicaragua on a missions trip in Nicaragua and Honduras a couple weeks later. And just during that trip, man, they were like stuck to each other. And now they're married. They got a baby. And it was a beautiful love story. I got to be in the wedding. I cried the whole time. It was really cool to watch that happen. So I know that you can you can fall in love in a variety of ways, like it might be love at first sight and it might hit you and knock you off your feet, or it might just be somebody that you're friends with, doing life with, and over time God changes your heart and they grow on you, and then you start to see them differently. I don't know, I just know that I've seen that happen. And I don't know how it's going to happen for me or for you, but I know that that's possible. And so, but what I don't believe you should do is try to force it. Meaning, like, some people go, well, why don't you just go out with her and see? Maybe there's something that I'm like, no, I'm not going to go out with, if I don't feel it from, I need to feel it from the beginning. I'm not going to invest time in a date if I don't feel something. Okay. Now it doesn't have to be, again, going back to Jackie's thing with the coffee, it doesn't have to be, oh, I think that there's marriage potential. It could just be someone like, I see I'm interested. I'd like to learn a little bit more about this person. That's okay. But if I don't even feel that, I'm not going to try to just go on a date with somebody just to see if I feel that later. Like, that to me doesn't really make sense. But yeah, so I would say to answer that question is yes. Okay. Is it a good idea to hold it in to make the sex last longer? This is funny. Yeah, absolutely. You know, um, discipline, right? It goes back to discipline. But yeah, of course, if it's going to please your partner, absolutely. But there's definitely something that's delayed gratification. Like, I like sex more than the climax. For me, I like, it's almost like it's almost like being over your parents' house on Thanksgiving, right? Like, I always get sad when I get full, right? I like when I'm eating, I'm enjoying it. And then when I'm full, it's over. And I'm like, oh, I wanted to keep eating. That's kind of what it's like for me with sex. It's like when I'm enjoying the act and having sex, and the climax is great, but only after some time. So yeah, absolutely. It's good to hold it in and delay it. Delayed gratification is real. All right. What's your favorite thing about a quickie? Kind of polar opposite of that last question. I don't know. Like, I can't answer that one. I don't think. It's been so long. I don't even remember. I mean, there probably been times where it was just a convenient thing to do, where maybe I was in a public place, or, and I just had, it didn't allow for a long session, the circumstances, but I guess it would be the fact that it's quick. All right. Do men compare us to women in their past? Some men probably do. I don't know if you mean in the bedroom or just in general. If you mean in general, I think yes, everyone compares people that they're, love interest, people that they're dating to people in their past. I think that is 100% true. I think the comparison is the thief of joy. This is why people with a lot of sex partners have the highest divorce rates. That's actually a real stat. Women with more than 10 sex partners have the highest divorce rates. So absolutely, I think men compare, and I think women compare, and I don't think that's good, because one person can't live up to all the people, right? Because there's going to be things that those individuals did well or had certain qualities that they had, and one person can't compare with all, so I do believe that, when you have a lot of experience, it's not a good thing, because if you've only had one person, then you don't have anything to compare it to, and you would just be really happy with that one. So all right, let's keep going. Is oral sex okay? I'm under the impression that oral sex is not a sin. I don't think that there's any evidence in the Bible about it being a sin. If anything, and I actually talked with Alan Parr about this topic, I'm sure that there's a lot of scripture that actually points to oral sex. And there's verses that talk about, his fruit was sweet to my taste. And there was a lot of verses that sound like in Song of Solomon specifically. If you read it, it sounds like they're referring to oral sex. In addition to the fact that I don't see any biblical evidence of oral sex being a sin. So I would say 100% it's okay. So the next question, actually, someone asked me, is anal sex a sin? And I've asked that question to people above my pay grade in the Christian faith, and I've got both sides. I got both answers. I had my pastor's wife tell me that it is a sin and it's in the Bible, because she was referring to sodomy. And then I've had Alan Parr, who's a scholar, a biblical scholar, tell me that it's not a sin, because he said when God was referring to the sins of Sodom, he was referring to men breaking the sexual code by penetrating other men, not to the anal sex. So, and he said it's not my thing, but it's not biblical. So I think you have to go with what your conscience believes. If you do it and you feel guilty, then you shouldn't do it. Okay. If you do it and you don't have any qualms about it, you don't feel like any conviction, then I would say it's okay. And if your wife or obviously your wife, if she enjoys it too, or your husband enjoys it, like you shouldn't be forcing your husband to do it if he doesn't enjoy it, and you shouldn't be forcing your wife to do it if she doesn't enjoy it. But if you both enjoy it and you don't have any convictions about it, I would say it's okay. And that opinion's changed for me, because I guess I believe what my pastor's wife told me years ago. And I thought, well, maybe this is the case. So I would say it's okay. So that's it, guys. That's all we really have. One more question. Sorry, let's go ahead. This says, is it right for a Christian to practice different styles and positions of sex? That's funny. It's different styles and positions. Okay, so when you say practice, what does that mean? Like, obviously not with another person, because that would be sexual sin. But when you say practice different styles and positions of sex, if you're practicing by yourself, maybe I don't know what that means. Sure, if it's like getting yourself flexible, I think that's okay. But if you're actually having thoughts and maybe using toys, or then yeah, you've crossed over into sin. But if it's just like kind of strengthening certain muscles so you can hold different positions or whatever. I think that that's fine. I think if we were to say that wasn't fine, we would be crossing over into legalism. But if that's kind of more of a hard issue too. So anyway, that's it, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know if we got value out of this, but actually, let's go ahead and take. Looks like there's a couple questions now. See if there's any in here. I'm afraid of a lightning bolt because waiting could be over just that quickly. Good point, James. Jennifer said she loves stories like that. I actually made a video about it. You can check it out on my YouTube channel called Letting God Write Your Love Story. Actually, I'm going to post it here in the chat. It was great, guys. I actually have footage of the wedding. God, let's see here. Yeah, here it is. Check that out. I just posted it in the chat here. Check that out when you have a chance. Great video. I see lots of coffee dates in your future, Stacy said. Maybe. We'll see. You know, here the thing is, honestly, this is what I realized, because people were like question me about not going on many dates. Or like, you're closed, bro. Like, you're closed off to it. And I'm like, no, it's not that I'm closed. I'm so focused on the vision that God gave me for my life and the impact that I'm going to have. I know that finding a wife is going to take an investment of time, right? Like, I'm going to have to go on lots of coffee dates, and then eventually I'm going to meet one, and I'm going to have to go on lots of coffee dates with one person. So I'm going to probably have to go on lots of dates with lots of girls, like coffee dates. And I'm going to have to go on a lot of dates with one girl, and all that stuff takes time. And I've been so focused on the vision that I haven't been willing to take my eye off the ball long enough to figure out who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. But now the beauty of it is things are really starting to work. Like, with everything that I mentioned earlier with City Fam, with the book, and like, there's just a lot of things working now that I feel like I could take my foot off the gas a little bit, or I could divert my attention because I got strong leaders around me now. And maybe I can take a look and find that person. I certainly want it. I certainly miss it, and I look forward to it. I'm going to cry tears of joy on my wedding night. I'll tell you that. I told Jackie, I said, when I'm getting into bed with my wife, I'll be crying tears of joy because the wait will be over. I'm looking forward. Oh, happy day. All right. Selena said, a guy I know has let me know he's attracted to me for years before he let me know he likes me. He said he neither wants, needs, or desires a relationship with anyone, full stop. Now, I know he likes me, but he still hasn't changed his mind. What do you make of that? Well, I would tell him that you haven't changed your mind either. You know, like, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking for in the live. Actually, let me go over and tell you real quick. Go to the Waiting Works community. Check out the live I did with Jackie. She's launching a Married in 12 Months or Less challenge. It's a 5-day challenge. It started today. It's called Married in 12 Months or Less. It's free. And when you go, make sure you hit the drop down, mention that you came from me or the Waiting Works community, and we'll have a special gift for you inside the group. But she said that, you know, there's a lot of people that are in these situationships, right? They're dating these people that aren't marriage minded, and the person's just wasting their time. So this guy sounds like a time waster to me. He's already telling you, I'm not looking for a relationship. Just because he likes you, so what? You know, like, what does that do for you? He wants to have sex with you, and he wants to waste your time. At least he's being honest, right? He's telling you, I'm not looking for a relationship. And I've been in that position plenty of times before I rededicated my life to God. I would tell girls, I'm like, don't have sex with me because I'm not looking for anything. And they would be like, okay, no problem. Like, they'll be like, it's okay. We can just have sex. And when I would have sex with them, then they would become attached to me. And then they would get mad at me because I didn't want a relationship. And I'm like, I already told you, I didn't want this. I wasn't looking for this. So he's telling you now up front that he doesn't want a relationship. Believe him. Okay. Let it go. All right, let's keep going. When God leads you seeking wisdom from him, your heart will change in time towards your way. You don't hold on to what you're wanting, but God will move God's will above your own. God is not out to trick us out of his will. Good point, Rochelle. 100%. That's really where I've been at with this whole waiting thing, is I just believed that my heart was in the right place. I was trusting God, and that he was going to lead me to this person. Not that I wasn't passively kind of looking, checking out, girls profile. I mean, I'm out there, right? I'm out there. I'm not like I'm closed off. I just wasn't like thinking it all depended on me. I work in the dating sites like a second job. I was kind of letting him drive, and all the verses I read said, trust in the Lord and he will give you, desires of your heart, and those who wait on the Lord. There's so many verses about God coming through for us. I can't believe that in an area of our life as important as who we spend the rest of our life with, he's not going to come through if your heart's in the right place and you're trusting him. Okay. How about a friend date? Something between dating and friendship development. Take it slow to see if we actually like each other. James, sure. That sounds a lot like the coffee thing, right? The only thing about that, there should definitely be a little bit of mutual interest, I think, because if not, this is why I heard it put before. If two people are friends, their feet are pointing this way, right? We're friends. But then when you date, you point your feet this way towards each other. Now, if you decide that you're not really interested and you decide you want to go back to this, you might have some hard, like this might create some tension here, right? Because the other person might not be wanting to put their feet back in that direction. And that's always, so I'm not saying that should prevent you, but there should be some mutual interest at least. The whole friend date thing, it's like, well, why not just be friends, right? But you have to be careful too with men and women spending a lot of time together because people do catch feelings. So it's a delicate balance. All right. Leah Taylor said, God has convicted me the last few years about foreplay. Foreplay is just as damaging to a relationship as sex is. And it's very easy for a couple to move to sex after doing foreplay. 100%. Listen, Leah, they call it foreplay for a reason because it leads to something, right? Foreplay is so, yeah, no, like I know a lot of people want to kind of dance around it and say they're waiting or they're sexually pure and they're doing other things. That doesn't work. There's still potential of getting a soul tie with the person. Okay. There's definitely a potential of hurt feelings and damaged relationships. The guy I was talking to yesterday in Colorado, I was explaining to him, I'm like, look, I have so many women in my life that have added so much value to everything that I'm doing. And there, some of them I definitely would have slept with in my former life. They were good looking girls. And I didn't, because I wanted, for being obedient to God. But because I didn't, they stuck around and they added value to my life. So I said, look, how do you know if that girl or that guy isn't the person that God sent to help you get your breakthrough in life? They might have that gift, that skill set, that one thing that you need that you've been waiting for to get to your promised land. And you're going to go ahead and screw it up because you want a blowjob or you want a hand job or whatever. So we have to take that into consideration because it's not just not having sex. It's also about the relationships. It's about having people in your life long-term. We say at City Fam, it's better to have long-term friends than short-term sex partners. And I know, because I've had both. Sex is fun, but I know what's better is having a long-term friend because I can continue to draw value and from that relationship, that friendship, and vice versa. Versus just, hey, we burnt it all in 20 minutes, having sex with each other. And now you think I'm an asshole. All right, let's keep going. What boundaries would you recommend to set that you don't cross lines and have sex before marriage? So much leads up to it. So trying to understand lines not to cross. So for me, what I did after I made that mistake with that friend, back in like 2014, I think it was. I didn't spend time alone with a woman for years. I would not be alone with a woman. Even if I rode in a car, it made me feel uncomfortable because I was just, even though there was nothing wrong with that, I would not have a girl over my house. I would not go over a girl's house. Anything I did was in group settings, or if I hung out with a girlfriend, maybe we go to a movie or something, but I would not be alone with a girl because I did not want to make another mistake. I took it that serious. So I would say, really it's going to depend on the person. For me, it was just so easy to go back to that. Like, it was like when I made that mistake, it was like, it was 0 to 60. We just went from, I'd never even kissed the girl till we had sex. And it just happened so fast that I was like, I had to make some hard decisions. And it was hard, like, because yeah, watching a movie with a friend, even a girlfriend, is good. Like it's something to do on a Friday or Saturday night, right? And I wouldn't allow myself to do it because I was too afraid that I would fall again. And I didn't want the sex to have me like it did. So that's what I did. I also quit drinking for 6.5 years because when I drank, I wanted to have sex, and I was trying to break the habit and I couldn't break it when I was drinking alcohol back in 2011. So for 6.5 years, I quit. And that was also very difficult. So like you got to know yourself. The word says know thyself, right? So you got to be very honest with yourself when you're setting your boundaries. Most people are going to lie to themselves and pretend that they can do more than they really can when it comes to that. But yeah, you have to be, because here's the deal. Like this is what I say is if you fall, if you make the mistake, the consequences in most cases are going to be the same as if you hadn't even tried. So the goal isn't to try to wait, right? The goal isn't to try to do anything. The goal is to do it. That's where the benefit comes from. The benefit comes when you're able to be successfully do it. So you don't want to like fool yourself into thinking that you can get away with more and then falling. I used to do this actually. When I was promoting, when I backslid, I was a Christian, and every time I drank, I would hook up with girls. But drinking wasn't a sin, I would convince myself. Drinking's not a sin, but every time I drank, I sinned. So you have to think about what is your trigger? What is your thing? If you're spending time alone with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you're falling into sexual sin, then you're obviously, you got to set a stronger boundary. And again, the boundary needs to be far enough out that when you do cross it, you're not in sin. Okay. Sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll say, well, what's your boundary? And they'll say, my boundary is not to have sex. I'm like, that's a shitty boundary. Because at that point that you crossed it, you're already in sin. Your boundary should be not to spend time alone with a female or a male or whatever it is, or something like that. My boundary is like not to make out with somebody, not to kiss it. Because if the point is if you cross it, you want the alarm to go off and you don't want to be over the freaking cliff if you cross it. So set the boundary far enough back that if you do cross it for some reason, you're not, you didn't just derail the whole train. All right. So I think that's it, guys. Check out the Married in 12 Months challenge. Let me just post the link. I think it's lovestories.com. Yeah, here it is right here. You can go over, register. There's a bunch of people that from the Waiting Works community there. Don't forget to mention me or the Waiting Works community in the drop down to get the access to the VIP. Charm City Countdown's coming up, guys. If you're not in the Baltimore area, but you can get here, come to the biggest and best New Year's Eve event, probably on the East Coast, but definitely in Baltimore. Got people coming in from all over the country, even internationally. People are coming. Vanessa Wilson's coming from like the Bahamas or Bermuda. I don't know. I always get those B's. Bahamas, Bermuda, Barbados, one of those B's. But Jackie Dorman's going to be there. She's inviting all her married to 12 months challenge people. There's going to be a lot of like-minded singles at this event. And who knows, maybe you'll meet your person there. We don't know, but it's going to be awesome. So you can go to charmcitycountdown.com. You can check it out, pick up tickets. What else? I put together a Costa Rica trip. I'm going to be in Costa Rica for somewhere between 2 weeks and a month. I'm super excited about it. Costa Rica is my favorite place that I've ever visited. It's a place called Tamarindo where we'll be renting a villa. We're renting actually a resort, 3 villas and a resort, have the whole resort to ourselves. Sleeps about 13, 14 people. And we have it for a month if we want it. We have it for definitely 2 weeks. We've already paid. We may end up having for a month, depending on how many people can commit. But we need to know this by the end of the week, actually, is kind of our deadline to decide. So if you're wanting to come to Costa Rica, you can drop the word Costa, C-O-S-T-A, in the comments. I'll send you a message telling you how to get more information. It's $1,000 a week, and that includes your stay, and it also includes a hot breakfast every day, and includes dinner prepared by a local chef 5 nights a week. $1,000. It's a great deal. We're going to do excursions. We're going to go out and we're going to do zip lining and horseback riding and rent ATVs and ride them on the beach. And we're going to go to thermal spas and we're going to do it all. It's going to be awesome. So if you want to come with us, drop a comment, Costa. I'll get back to you, let you know more information. And then what I plan to be working on at the beginning of next year, the thing I'm probably most excited about is we're going to be doing a security token offering for Home. If you don't know what Home is going to be a bar restaurant that CityFam owns. It's going to be a hub for us. It's going to be a hub for CityFam Baltimore members to meet and hang out, connect. But Home is going to be, we're going to call it Home because there's no place like home. And there literally is no place like this in the world. I've never seen a bar like this, but it's going to be like a place that people can come and build community and connect with each other and become the best version of themselves in a social setting. When I became a believer, a follower of Jesus, I was looking for this place and it doesn't exist. I went to Christian coffee houses. I went to young adult groups. I went to different churches that had things I heard. I was looking for a group of people that I could relate to and do life with, because I was coming out of the bar scene and I was wanting to make changes in my life. And I was looking for some people to make those changes with and just have fun, on the weekends. I was working hard, very, very hard during the week. And I was just looking for good people to be around on the weekends and I couldn't find them. And eventually I just kind of gave up and I decided I was just going to try to stay out of trouble and not sin. And eventually I believed God would give me a wife if I did that. And that period of my life lasted for 6 years. And I just basically isolated. And eventually I backslid anyway. I went back to the bars because I wanted to be around people again. And I picked up all my old bad habits, made a mess, and then I rededicated, went through the exact same thing, staying in every night. I was like, why is that the case? Right? Like, what if we had a place, a bar, a place that we could meet and build relationships? And it was not about going out and hooking up and YOLO and drinking too much. It was about, hey, listen, we're going to have fun, but we are going to become the best version of ourselves too. And we're going to help each other get there. That's what's going to make Home unique. It's going to be the people. And I guarantee you, every person out there that's watching this, you have people in your life that you know they need something. They might need to get sober. They might need God. They need something. And you can't get them the help that they need because they don't want to come to those places. They don't want to come to church with you. They don't want to go to recovery because they're not ready for it. But you could get them to come to a bar. And if in that bar, me and my friends were there, most of those people would get their shit together. A lot of them would meet Jesus. A lot of them would get sober or at least stop drinking excessively, because the reason that they're drinking is because they don't have great community and they're masking pain. Their life sucks. They're not living their potential. They're not living their purpose, and they're trying to escape reality because they're feeling the pain. And what we're saying is, look, hang out with us. Don't worry. I don't care if you're drinking too much. I don't care if you're a drunk. I don't care if you're a drug addict. Come to Home, hang out with us, do life with us. Because if you continue to hang out with us, you won't want those things for very long. And let's figure out why you're here and let's go after it. So that's what's Home. We're going to have life coaches come in and we'll do seminars on how to live your best life. But guess what? On Friday night, we're partying. We're doing karaoke on Friday. We're having bands come in on Saturday, cover bands. But on Wednesday, we might have Jeremy Camp come in. We might have Kanye come in on Sunday and do a Sunday session. We don't like it. It won't be able to, nobody's going to be able to put Home in a box. Home is going to be this thing that nobody will be able to figure out or label, because it won't be a Christian anything. It won't be a non-alcohol. No, we're going to serve alcohol actually, because alcohol is not a sin. Overconsumption is a sin, and we won't encourage that. But a church doesn't stop serving food at their potluck because they're afraid that someone's going to eat too much and be a glutton. No, you can't remove the temptation. We just got to learn to as they say, as God said to Cain, sin is crouching at your door, but you must master it. We're going to learn to master it. We're not going to look to hide out from the temptation and, oh my gosh, we can't, like, that's not the way we're supposed to do any of this. Jesus said, go. He says, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. That's dangerous. So we're going to go to where the people are that need our help, and we're going to model lives for them that they can see and want for themselves and relate to, and we're going to pull them in, and they're going to change. We're not going to let them make us hide. That's not the way we're supposed to do this. So Home is going to be, we're going to do an STO. It's called a security token offering. And it's basically like, it's very similar to what people do when they do an IPO. It's initial public offering. They take their company public. We're going to do that with Home, but it's going to be done through the blockchain. And we're going to do a security token offering, and we're going to allow our members, CityFam members, people that are watching now from all over the world, they're going to be able to invest in Home, and they're going to have equity in it. They're going to be able to buy in and have tokens And as we continue to make money and open more homes, their tokens become worth more and more, and they can earn dividends, whether quarterly or biannually. I don't know how we're going to pay out yet, but, and then they can trade them. They can sell them. If they decide somebody's like, well, I need some money for my college tuition, they can sell their tokens and to another person very easily through the blockchain. That's what the blockchain allows, transactions to take place very easily peer to peer. So I'm really excited about it. I'm already have an intercessory team praying about like specifically getting Kanye West and Justin Bieber on board. Like those are the kind of people that we want involved, because if they start wearing home shirts and talking about it, on their podcast or whatever, home is going to be, we're going to change the world, guys. This is going to be something brand new that happens in the world. And you're going to see millions of people's lives change. Millions of people meet the Lord. And I believe that we're going to lead a great revival through this. And when people come to Baltimore to learn how to run their City Fam chapter and they go to home, they're going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe there's a place like this. I need to have one in Savannah, Georgia, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Indianapolis, or wherever they're from. And we're going to say, awesome, we'll help you do it. Go back and build your City Fam chapter up to 1,000 members. And when you get there, we'll open it, because at that point you have a captive audience that wants it, and then we'll open a home to support it. And that's what we're going to do, city by city. We're going to do this. We're going to open these places, and they're going to be community centers disguised as bars, and they're going to be awesome, and they're going to be fun. Y'all see, sometimes you see footage from some of our parties. When people come to Baltimore, they see we turn up, we have a good time, but we also realize that there's lines, and we try not to cross them, and we're going to do our best to hold each other accountable. We're going to have fun. We're going to turn up. And that's what I believe. When people come to home, it's going to be like my birthday times 10 every weekend. And I'm super excited about it. And this is your chance. Like, it's not actually out there yet. We haven't released the security tokens, but that's what I'm going to be working on next year. So if you got some money, or you're going to get tax money, save it, get in, because I'm highly committed to the success of home, that it's going to be very successful. And I would want nothing more than the members and the people that have believed in us throughout the years and helped us get here to benefit from what's about to take place. So I'm very excited about it, as you can probably see. All right, guys, that's it. I love you all. Feel free to share the episode. Love to see some of you at Charm City Countdown, and talk to you later.